You're watching Al Jazeera, and this is live coverage of the 41st GCC Summit, which is being held in Al Ula in Saudi Arabia, which is being attended by members of the Gulf Cooperation Council. They're in the process of signing what's known as the Ula Agreement at the moment. We heard from the Emir of Kuwait moments ago, the Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, who came to power on September 29, 2020, on the death of his half-brother, and took up the mantle of carrying out the negotiations which may have led to an easing of restrictions or possibly an easing of the blockade between blockading countries and Qatar. In his speech, he said that he welcomed this cementing the cornerstone of the Gulf's work and regarded the Ula Agreement as a historic achievement. I want to bring in JAMAL ELSHAYYAL, who's live for us in Doha. He's been covering this extensively. This is a significant moment. We are seeing them going through the process as we go. Just talk us through what we have seen so far in terms of the arrivals at the conference, and in particular the embrace that happened between the Emir of Qatar and also the Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Of course, well, Rob, I mean, this is very significant on a number of levels. It's very evident that the Gulf leaders, or at least definitely when it comes to Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Kuwait, have spared no effort in trying to show that this is a new page in inter-Gulf relations, that this is essentially an end to a feud that has severely destabilized the region over the past 3.5 years and the beginning of a new era, not just in terms of the visuals that we've seen, as you mentioned, the embrace between the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, but also in terms of the language that is being used about it. And we'll get into that right now. But one of the other significant things here to look into is that not only is this being seen as a new chapter in inter-Gulf relations, it's also going to be billed as a new chapter in Saudi Arabia, where the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who has previously been seen as somebody who's been erratic, who has been following maybe undiplomatic norms, is now positioning himself as more of a statesman, as somebody who has been able to overcome differences and bring people together and host an international gathering of regional leaders and chair it in that way. And that is going to be seen as a very key point, particularly when Saudi looks outwards towards its relationships with Washington and trying to establish maybe better ones once the president-elect comes in. I was talking about semantics here, and this is very important here, Rob, that the Kuwaiti Emir, when he was describing what is being signed now, as we saw all those different leaders or representatives of the different leaders gathered in Al Ula sign those documents, what is being signed here is not the Al Ula Agreement. It is what has been described as the Al Ula Declaration. And here it's very important because what is seen, an agreement would have some sort of concessions, would have some sort of points where each side has to give something. But what I understand from speaking to sources is that this declaration is more centered on reaffirming unity within the GCC, reaffirming the GCC's principles and the mechanisms within that bloc, and doesn't necessarily look into the specifics of 13 demands or any other demands that have been flaunted around over the past 3.5 years. And in that is maybe the secret to how these countries have been able to exit from this crisis, focusing more on what is common between them, particularly when they're looking at global pandemics or other challenges that they share amongst them, COVID and so forth, rather than looking at the sources of division that still exist and that would naturally exist between countries, but trying to look at how to find mechanisms where they can discuss those rather than impose things like blockades and so forth.